People always ask me, Elon, what's the secret to building billion-dollar companies? Well, here's the truth. It's not about the money. It's about risking everything to solve problems no one else dares to tackle. Let me show you why chasing profits is the wrong way to change the world. One of the most important things to understand about innovation is that it's inherently risky. If you're not taking risks, you're probably not innovating. Think about it. When we started SpaceX, people told me I was crazy. Or they said, you're going to lose all your money trying to build rockets. And yeah, there was a very real chance of failure. In fact, our first 3 launches failed. By the 4th launch, we were down to our last few dollars. But we kept pushing because the alternative was giving up, and giving up is the only true failure. Risk is necessary because it forces you to think differently. If you're only doing the things that feel safe, you're never going to build anything groundbreaking. Look at Tesla. When we started, the auto industry was one of the least innovative sectors. Nobody believed that electric vehicles could compete with gasoline cars, let alone surpass them. But we didn't just want to make an electric car, we wanted to make the best car. To do that, we had to take massive risks, like building our own battery production facilities when nobody else was doing it. Now, Tesla batteries are some of the best in the world. When you take risks, you're going to fail sometimes. That's just part of the process. But every failure is a lesson. At SpaceX, we have a saying, failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you're not innovating enough. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, but it's also how you discover what's possible. Money plays a big role in this. You have to be strategic about where you place your bets. Every dollar you invest should move you closer to your goal. For example, we've poured billions into the development of Starship because it's critical for making life multiplanetary. Sure, there's risk involved. It's the most complex rocket ever built. But the potential reward, transforming humanity's future, that's worth every bit of uncertainty. So, my advice? Don't be afraid of risk. Embrace it. If you truly believe in your vision, you'll find a way to make it work. And if it doesn't work the first time, or the second, or the third, keep going. Because the only thing riskier than taking a chance is playing it too safe and missing the opportunity to change the world. People often misunderstand the role of money. They see it as the ultimate goal, but that's not how I view it. Money, to me, is just a tool, a resource to be deployed toward achieving meaningful outcomes. It's not about accumulating wealth for its own sake. If you're only chasing money, you're probably not going to build anything that lasts or makes a real difference. Take Tesla, for example. In the early days, we didn't have massive funding. Every dollar we raised went straight into developing the technology, electric powertrains, batteries, manufacturing processes. The same goes for SpaceX. We didn't spend money on flashy headquarters or perks. We put it all into rockets and engineering talent. The focus was always on solving hard problems, not maximizing profits. When you're working on something that truly matters, money becomes secondary. Think about the mission of SpaceX, making life multiplanetary. That's not a project you take on to make a quick buck. It's a high-risk, high-cost endeavor, but the payoff is ensuring humanity's long-term survival. To me, that's a far better use of capital than chasing short-term gains. Another thing to keep in mind is that money can also be a trap. If you're not careful, you can get stuck optimizing for financial returns instead of creating value. This is why so many companies fail to innovate. They become too focused on quarterly earnings reports and forget to think about the long term. It's a mindset problem. At Tesla and SpaceX, we operate with the belief that if you build something truly great, the money will follow. But you have to prioritize the mission first. For entrepreneurs, I'd say, don't let money dictate your decisions. Use it wisely, sure, but don't let it steer the ship. If you focus on solving big problems and creating products people love, the financial rewards will take care of themselves. But if your only goal is to make money, you're going to hit a ceiling because that approach lacks purpose and passion. Money should always serve the mission, not the other way around. When I think about what drives real innovation, it's not the pursuit of profit, it's the desire to solve big, meaningful problems. If you're only chasing what's immediately profitable, you're likely to end up competing in crowded markets, making incremental improvements to things that already exist. That's not exciting, and it's not how you change the world. Take Tesla, for instance. When we decided to focus on electric vehicles, it wasn't because it was a lucrative market. In fact, it wasn't. EVs were considered niche and unprofitable. But the problem we wanted to solve, reducing humanity's dependence on fossil fuels, was massive. And because it was such a big problem, it required equally big solutions, scalable energy storage, charging infrastructure, and manufacturing electric cars at scale. None of that existed at the time, so we had to build it ourselves. The same goes for SpaceX. The idea of making life multiplanetary wasn't something anyone was clamoring for. People said, why not just focus on Earth? But if humanity is going to have a future beyond this planet, someone has to solve the problem of affordable, reusable spaceflight. That's why we've invested so much in Starship. It's not about making money. It's about ensuring that humanity can survive and thrive in the long term. The truth is, solving big problems is hard. It takes time, resources, and often a willingness to fail repeatedly. But the rewards, both in terms of impact and eventual profitability, are exponential. When you tackle something truly meaningful, you're not just creating a product or a company, you're building the future. Another point, solving big problems naturally attracts the best talent. People want to work on something that matters. At Tesla and SpaceX, we've been able to bring in some of the most brilliant minds in the world because they see the importance of what we're doing. If your mission is compelling, people will want to be part of it. So don't aim small. Focus on what really matters, what's going to have a lasting impact on humanity. Even if the path isn't clear, even if it's not immediately profitable, the effort is worth it. Because the biggest problems are the ones that define our future. One thing I've always believed is that if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you have to be willing to put in extraordinary effort. People often underestimate what's possible when you work with relentless focus and intensity. At Tesla and SpaceX, we set insanely ambitious goals, and then we work like crazy to meet them. It's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter and being ruthless with how you allocate your time and resources. For example, at Tesla, we've had moments where the company was on the brink of bankruptcy. During the Model 3 ramp-up, we were burning through cash so fast that we had weeks, literally weeks, of runway left. I slept on the factory floor because I wanted to be there, solving problems in real time with the team. That level of commitment is necessary when you're trying to achieve something that most people think is impossible. But work ethic alone isn't enough. You also have to be incredibly strategic about where you allocate your resources, both time and money. At SpaceX, we have a mantra, find the critical path. That means focusing only on the things that directly move the mission forward. Everything else is secondary. If a project or a task isn't contributing to launching rockets or making space travel more affordable, we cut it. No exceptions. Another key aspect is investing in people. At the end of the day, the success of any company comes down to the strength of its team. That's why we prioritize hiring top talent and creating an environment where they can thrive. We don't micromanage, we give people big challenges and the freedom to solve them in their own way. But we also hold them accountable for results. I think a lot of companies fail because they spend too much time and money on things that don't matter. Fancy offices, endless meetings, layers of bureaucracy, those are all distractions. If you're serious about innovation, you need to strip everything down to its core. Focus on what matters, work harder than anyone else, and make sure every resource is pushing you closer to your goal. Time and money are finite, so you have to treat them like the precious resources they are. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. That's why I always say prioritize ruthlessly and execute relentlessly. The margin for error in innovation is razor thin, and if you're not focused, you're wasting both. When it comes to innovation, one of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking too short-term. The reality is, truly groundbreaking ideas take years, sometimes decades, to develop and succeed. If you're only focused on immediate results or short-term profits, you're not going to create anything that has a lasting impact. Look at SpaceX. Our mission is to make life multiplanetary, but that's not something that happens overnight. We've been working on reusable rockets for over a decade, and we're still pushing the boundaries with Starship. Every step, every launch failure, every engineering challenge brings us closer to that goal. The payoff may not come next year or even in the next decade, but the vision is clear, and we're committed to making it happen. The same applies to Tesla. The shift to sustainable energy isn't going to be completed in 5 or 10 years. It's a long-term mission. That's why we're not just building cars, we're building a whole ecosystem, solar panels, energy storage, charging networks. These investments might not generate massive profits immediately, but they're essential for creating a future where humanity can thrive without destroying the planet. Thinking long-term also requires a different mindset when it comes to risk and reward. Sometimes you have to make decisions that seem counterintuitive in the short term. For example, we poured billions into building the gigafactories. At the time, people thought it was a huge financial gamble. But those factories are now the backbone of Tesla's production and have given us a massive competitive advantage in the EV market. One of the key challenges with long-term thinking is that it's often misunderstood. People want to see quick results, especially investors and shareholders. But the companies that really change the world are the ones willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gain. You have to be willing to take criticism, to stick to your vision, even when others don't see it. If there's one thing I'd emphasize, it's this. Long-term thinking isn't just about delaying gratification, it's about creating something that matters. The world doesn't need more apps or gadgets that solve trivial problems. It needs solutions to the big challenges: sustainable energy, space exploration, AI safety. These are the things that define the future, and they require patience, perseverance, and a willingness to think beyond your own lifetime.